Yes. Okay. So we just got done discussing the weather for those of you that are listening to this recording, and it is beautiful here in Pennsylvania. This is our second to last class. Can you believe it? Makes me sad. I'm sure it makes many of you happy, but it is sad. It is kind of sad, you know. I mean, you're going to be on to bigger and better things, and if you decide to stay and get your master's degree, I was just going to say that. If you decide to stay in past your certificate and get a master's degree, don't let the research methods course scare you too much. That's also a course I teach, unless you've had a terrible experience here with me, then you you can plan accordingly. But I teach the EA 594. Oh gosh, I just lost the screen here. Damn it. Okay, yes, back. I don't teach 872, but oh, good. I don't teach 872, but I know people that do, and they're good. I make it a point to get good professors to teach in EA, so I think you'll be happy as you move forward in the program. Or if you were just taking this as an elective, glad you did. Does anybody, I don't know if you've ever done this before, but it is SRTE time. Who knows what SRTEs are? Oh, I already did mine. Heather, aren't you smart? Yes, student teacher rating evaluation or something like that. I've never done one. All right, so this is where you get to give me feedback. And we're at a new place, and I believe it's rating teachers. I don't know, what's it called? It's new. That's not it. What's it called? Heather, you were there. It's new. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay, I found it. Here's the URL. It's not Rate My Teacher. That's something else. This is rateteaching.psu.edu, and you'll see the class, your course for this, and you can rate the course and your experience. There's also a link on your Angel. Is it in Canvas as well, Alfredo? I don't know. I was just given this rate teaching. What you guys get and what I get are two different things. So I would greatly appreciate if you would complete that. It won't take you but a couple minutes. You might even sneak out during the class tonight and do it. Upper right-hand corner on your Angel screen. Okay, is it Angel or Canvas, Heather? It depends how you come into the class on Angel. Okay, so if you come in via cms.psu.edu, that's Angel, and you'll see it. So that would be great if you could do that. It closes next week sometime, but it would be nice to get that done. And they don't let the teachers see anything until after the grades are posted. Speaking of which, how are we doing on grading? Thank you. Meghna.
Hey, Rosalie.
Hi. So Magna and I need to make sure that we've got all our ducks in a row as we head into week 15 next week. And I got a message, did I grade? Jonathan Garwood asked if I graded their topic summary. As of last week, I had graded all the topic summaries that I had, or at least I thought I did. So I didn't grade the one from last week. I need to know if you've given me a topic summary and I haven't graded it. Oh, Brian, I just saw your message.
Yes. I did give you a topic summary. Let me show you. Let me pull up a date. Hold on.
I don't know. If you could do Magna and I a favor, I grade the topic summaries, Magna grades the PowerPoint presentations. Let Magna know, and Magna will see if we need another copy of it. Okay, Magna?
Sure.
All right.
Rosalie, do you want me to email you the ones which you haven't not graded?
Point me in the right direction or email them to me.
Sounds good. Okay.
I know that I hadn't gotten all the ones for the presentations that had been done when I graded them. So let's see, what else? We want to make sure our ducks are in a row. Does PSU's lack of an A+ make grading this class difficult? It certainly will, Ben. It certainly will. Now, so we want to make sure we have all of the grades up to date and that there are no surprises to anyone. Does anyone want to know about the second test? Nobody wants to know. That's fine. That's fine.
I did have a quick grading question, if
yes.
I could. So you had mentioned, I think, several weeks ago at this point, that we would have the opportunity to, I guess, to fix some of the what was it? I think the team assignment, like some of the like, you went through and you annotated, some improvements, and we could like redo it.
You mean the topic summary?
Yeah, topic summary, right.
Okay.
Right.
Yes. And you probably want to know about that.
Yes.
I changed my mind. No, just kidding. Yes, for those of you that have gotten comments from me on your topic summary and with some things, suggestions on things to fix, with the opportunity to resubmit for additional grading. Where should we do that? Do we need a new Dropbox, Magna, for that?
So for us, we just resubmitted it. It gives you the option to resubmit. So
It
I was
does.
just curious as to when. Yeah, we did this. We submitted a few weeks ago. I was just curious when it would be graded.
Oh, well, soon. How's that?
All right.
Soon. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I haven't gone back to that. There's a Dropbox at the end of the modules, right? The bottom of the modules page. Is that what you mean, Ben?
Yes.
Yes, Magna. Okay. I will check in with that again. So,
Rosalie.
Yes.
Quick question for you. I had emailed you my the Internet of Things topic summary.
You did.
Yes, on that same night that we presented in the same email as the presentation.
Okay. Thank you. I'll find it.
Okay. If you need me to email it again, I can just send it to you right now.
No, that's okay. If you emailed it from Canvas.
Yes, on Canvas. Yes.
Okay. It'll be there then.
Yeah, it's there. I just checked. It's there.
Okay.
So you should be able to find it.
Great. So I will do that.
Okay.
I will do that. And I will give everyone the opportunity to revise and resubmit if there's, things you want to improve upon. And so you want to know when you need to do that. Well, first I have to grade the first one. I'll think about it next week. By next next week. Next week.
I have a question.
Who's that, Heather?
Yes, ma'am. We are doing our presentation next week, so we get to turn in our presentation a couple days before that, correct?
Come again? You get to turn in your presentation a couple days before that? You can turn in your presentation before that. Yeah.
I mean, the thing you're talking about right now.
The topic summary.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Double check.
Is it ready? Is it ready?
No, it's not quite ready, but I was just making sure.
Okay, so the sooner you submit it to me, I will grade. I will grade the rest this week, and if you want an opportunity to turn it around, then you need to get it to me. The sooner the better. The sooner the better. But next Tuesday at the latest.
Professor, I just wanted to verify that we only needed to turn in one copy per team.
Correct. That is correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Now the test. So how do I create a poll? How do I create a poll? Pan and Zoom. Oh, I don't know. I'll have to learn how to do this. Do you want a second test? If you had the option, let me put it this way. If you had the option of not having a second test, would you still come to class next week? Alfredo says no. Yes. Would you feel deprived if you didn't have a second test? You wouldn't miss it, Mark? I like the classes. I would get over it. Deprived, not in the least. I would come to class.
Would the course just have that many fewer points?
Oh. Yes, it would.
I'm trying to pad my 98, so.
Oh, you're so bad. So here's the thing. This is an all or nothing. Either we all take the test, which I haven't made, or we don't take the test. So I don't think anybody's really, well, I'll let you all decide. I haven't heard anything otherwise. Yes, one less thing to do is always welcome. I agree.
I mean, just think about how hard it would be to grade it. I mean, I just wouldn't do it personally if I were you.
Those who don't show up next week have to take the test. Right. All right. Well, I will ponder this, but I believe that given good attendance next week, we won't have a second test. I will deduct the points from the overall grade and grade accordingly. Unless someone convinces me otherwise. So I'm not hearing any of that, but you have the next hour. Let me fill out the survey now. You have the next hour. All right. How do we want to start this? Who's presenting tonight? Where's the big data team? Who's that?
That's going to be myself, Hayden, Jyoti, Daphne, and Josh.
Awesome. So I think the other week when I presented the discussion themes first, I kind of stole some of the thunder from the team. So I don't want to do that. So I can do the discussion themes afterwards if they aren't covered in the presentation tonight, if the points aren't covered. So we'll run through those. Do you have I can give somebody control and you can load your presentation, or I can load it however you want.
If you wouldn't mind giving it to me, Hayden, I'll upload it, and
all right.
I'll be doing the driving tonight anyway.
There you go. Nope, wrong. Yeah, there you go, Hayden.
Thank you.
See at the bottom left, there's the box to click to upload. Ooh. Nice. All right, I'm gonna mute myself now, and you guys and gals, take it away.
Alrighty, so good evening, class. Tonight, my team, we're going to cover the topic of big data and enterprise architecture. Starting with this slide, I put the image of Devil's Tower here to kind of give an illustration of what we thought big data was. It's that big rock that most organizations try to condense down and make that big rock something usable in the organization. So we're going to be presenting on this topic tonight. We'll have some questions as we go through, and then some of our survey results. So our agenda for this evening, we'll give a team introduction real quick, talk about what big data is, the importance of big data enterprise architecture, and the perspective of current year research and results, big data and security, and why would we or should we have a debate on ethics and big data, and then wrap it up with a quick summary of all the topics we laid out. So the team, myself, I'm a technical architect at Ameren, which is a energy utility company. We have Daphne, Josh, and Jyoti, and they'll be presenting as we go through the presentation as well. So big data. Big data is a term that's become common to the vocabulary of most technology-centric organizations. While the overall details and the underlying technologies differ between those organizations, it all drives to the same result: how to drive decision-making and how to support optimizing decision-making for an organization. I found this quote by the CTO of Silicon Valley Data Sciences, who explained big data in this way. And he said, big data refers to a combination of an approach of informing decision-making with analytical insight derived from data, and a set of enabling technologies that enable that insight to be economically derived from very large, diverse sources of data. So with the advances of technologies, all the censoring data and the click-through metrics that we can get from websites and social media and things like that, big data has really come to the forefront of decision and insights, business intelligence for an organization. So one organization, Expert On, which is a group that does a lot of consulting work with SaaS, describe big data in this way. And they asked a large group of CIOs and CTOs and some data scientists what they felt was big data. And as you can see, they asked, was it just a marketing hype, or is it a new generation database and analytic technology? Some folks strongly agreed that it could be a bit of a marketing hype, kind of an even mix around that, but there was almost overwhelming 41% felt that it was a new generation database and analytics technology, really driving technology for that organization. So importance, why is big data important to an organization? It doesn't center around how much data an organization has, but the organization needs to understand what's being done with that data. In the past, as organizations brought in that data into their data centers and their databases, and they try to use it, they looked at it as a cost, a storage cost, a license cost for database solutions, really how to hold on to that data. And they were starting to realize that without actually doing anything or applying insights or being able to manipulate that data into an asset, it remained just a cost. So that mind shift started to happen to where insights were being driven by information, and that information became an asset to the organization. And when they started doing that, they started realizing how to reduce costs on the organization by having informed decisions or optimized decisions, reducing time and determining decisions on how a organization should operate, or for a consumer, by servicing information on a website or like Amazon, for instance. In this real world example I have, being able to reduce the time that I go to, or a user goes to Amazon to look for something. If you can surface those results that this product might be of interest to them, it saves time both for them and for the organization to learn how to do just-in-time inventories and things like that. Product and optimize offerings, same thing. At just-in-time point of sale, being able to optimize those different product offerings so that customer, and trying to match what they would most likely like, which helps them get the goods that they want faster, and to be able for the organization to products much more efficiently. So as big data has become more of a mainstream practice within an organization, information's been growing. As it shows here, the current figure, according to IBM, each day 2.5 quintillion bytes of data are produced. As of 2014, 90% of the world's data has been created in the last 2 years alone, and that's an exponential growth. To put that in perspective, every minute Facebook users share nearly 2.5 million pieces of content. There's 300,000 Twitter users tweeting every minute. YouTube uploads 72 hours of new video content every minute. That's, to me, is astonishing. And Amazon generates over $80,000 in online sales every minute, which is just fascinating to me. That's a lot of transactions that are happening every minute. So to take that one step further, we look at big data as something that an organization consumes for their analytical input. But if you put it in the aerospace world, aircraft sensor data also takes an immense data to analyze the telemetry, component matters, and flight, and environmental variables, as the cabin too warm or too cold, things like that. Looking at this figure, we're talking in a total data flow from a given day from flights leaving New York only. We're looking at 12 exabytes of data alone, which is astonishing, and that's from aircraft only. So 10 gigabits a second per engine is a common factor. And Benjamin, so is it volume that distinguishes data with big data? There's some factors, and we'll go into that in an upcoming slide here. So big data was really classified using these kind of dimensions. Then it started with 3, and then it went to 4. Now they've kind of added a 5th dimension to big data, and by defining these dimensions, it kind of helps develop an organization to help develop that roadmap for developing the guiding principles, understanding what the requirements are to transform that raw material or that data into a valuable asset and rationalize it so they can build those insights. So if you look at here, Doug Laney coined these mainstream dimensions for big data, and he talks about volume, which is the amount of data received, velocity, how fast it's received, and variety, the different sources. Going a step further, there's another V that's called veracity, the trustworthiness of the data, the single source of truth that allows it to get an accurate insight based on that data that's being collected. And then value, what is that value or the data worth to the organization? That can depend on how long the data is stored within the organization, what the transactional life cycle is of that data. All those dimensions combined is what creates big data, not just a single one of those. So as we look at the survey results, we asked the class to respond to some questions that we had about big data. And we start with, in the class's opinion, how much data does it take to be considered big data? Would a terabyte qualify, petabyte, exabyte? And we're really quite surprised when we saw that other became an answer to that. And I have to agree that it depends on organizational needs. And I think that's where the class was leading to is, it doesn't have to be a large amount of data, terabytes or petabytes of data, as long as there's the volume and the velocity and the value to the organization to where they can gain the insights and drive decision making in an optimized fashion. When did our organization begin with working with big data? It was interesting to see that a lot of the respondents seem to have a mature process, or at least have been doing big data practices for several years now. Which of the following sources does your organization collect or plan to collect? Web data, which I was surprised to see. I was expecting to see either sensors or social media, but web data, especially for consumerization and healthcare industry and the financial industry, seems to be the main category that big data sources come from. And with that, I will turn over to Daphne for her discussion on big data and EA.
Thank you, Hayden. So we know that using enterprise architecture in the past, it's enabled organizations to integrate emerging technologies with very little difficulty. And the same is true with big data, especially if we take into account 5 key points. And that's what we're going to talk about this evening. And then we're going to wrap it up with that 6th point, the data architecture transitions from sculpted to service. So next slide. So as we can see here, the milestone for most organizations to gain value from their data is when they start to understand the cultural phases of data management. Most organizations have 3 distinct characteristics. Those are the data museum, the data refinery, and the data market. In the data museum, as this picture depicts, they're in a collector state. Big data is viewed as an artifact. It's something that's collected. Enterprise architecture has an inside-out focus in this state, and the data is limited to use for IT dashboards, for performance measurements, and risk mitigation. In the second state, we progress to the data refinery state. And that state, the data is looked at as a raw commodity. It's going to be refined for use for a specific group for a specific purpose, right? In that state, the enterprise architecture has a focus on a customer-centric orientation. The data does extend beyond the confines of IT. It is refined, as I mentioned. They go through analysis and syndication to refine it, and then it's made available to business users to provide insight for influencing customer decisions and actions. Our final state and the optimum state there is the data market. It's characterized by an innovator state. In this arena, big data rules, right? That's where real-time business is conducted. They finally recognize that this data can provide them a valuable means of establishing and maintaining a competitive advantage. In this state, EA fosters an outside-in focus, right? So they're going to provide their data in an agile manner so that it's going to be available to provide meaningful real-time insights from unlimited sources to unlimited users. And our next slide. So we see the second point in the 5-point strategy is we have to adjust our architecture standards as it relates to data, right? We're all familiar with the DevOps environment. That's a very fast-paced, rapidly moving environment, and enterprise architecture has to keep pace with that, especially when it comes to big data. So we kind of find a merging between the DevOps culture and then ideally that big data innovator culture. With those two merging together, we're able to provide consumers with an exceptional digital customer experience. And EA plays a role in that they can help the two cultures to blend seamlessly, and they do that by adjusting the data architecture strategies. So what we're aiming to do in this context is provide digital services, deliver the data through those digital services, and as I mentioned, it keeps pace with that DevOps routine. So we're going to have enterprise practitioners demonstrate value to their organization by navigating the road to big data using 4 principles. The principles noted there, they're going to need to know their organization's data archetype, right? So that means they have to be cognizant of whether or not they're in an innovator state, and if they're not, then they work towards transforming to that state. They're going to need to interchange their data strategy with their business strategy. And what that means is they're going to broaden their business outcome-driven approach to incorporate qualitative data capability measures. We normally focus on quantitative financial measures, and then some things related qualitatively, but not those specifically related to data capabilities. So that's one shift that needs to take place. So in addition to aligning their existing strategies, they're going to be working towards transforming those strategies so that they can create new initiatives related to their customers' digital experience. So in that next one, what they're going to do is direct rather than collect requirements. That's going to require EAs to expand their worldview. So they're going to sort of embrace business architecture concepts, things like designing competitive structures. They're going to look for potential investment opportunities. The goal there is going to be to drive innovation and advance the enterprise's objectives. So our next slide. So when we're thinking about adopting data capabilities, it reminded me of a joke that I heard once, right? So you can see it there. There's one day they're in the Dean of Science's office. There's a fire in the wastebasket. In rushes the physicist, the chemist, and the statistician. The physicist immediately goes to work. He's going to find out how much energy is it going to take to put out this fire, right? The chemist is going to approach it, and he's going to say, what agent needs to be added to get this fire put out, to prevent oxidation of the fire? While this is going on, the statistician comes in, and he starts setting fires to all the other wastebaskets in the office, right? So everyone stops, what are you doing? Typical data scientist, well, to solve the problem, you obviously need a larger sample size. That's not necessarily true. Just throwing in more data without a purpose, it doesn't solve any of our problems. So our next slide is going to tell us how we need to adopt data capabilities. So what we do is we look at our business and our data strategies, and we let that determine which capabilities we're going to adopt. It's going to be very need specific. However, there are four key capabilities that's going to help the enterprise architecture to advance its big data initiatives. Those are the data source, extreme processing, elastic integration, and semantic services. I won't go into all of the technical details about it. I'll just tell you really quickly. The data source, what that involves is that they're going to use their database context is going to be one in which they have optimized relational data warehouses, and they're going to hold on to those, and that's going to be used for their normalized data, but they're also going to have non-relational databases that they're going to use for non-normalized data. And when we move into extreme processing, what that does is combine data appliances, focused analytic data appliances, with their non-relational databases, and the two together will provide real-time insight retrieval. They're still, as I said, going to hold on to their relational database warehouses, and when they need to, they're going to use that to transform and model their data. And this second one, extreme processing, that's going to set the stage for the following stepping stones. And those are elastic integration. So we know that we have to manage big data, the quality, the movement, the transformation, the consumption. And that's something that's going to be required in a DevOps environment, particularly when you move into that innovator state. So what needs to happen in that sense, this has to take place in a virtualized approach where the performance is not going to suffer regardless of the volume, the variety, or the velocity of the big data. And that elastic integration of the 3 steps that we've discussed so far, that one is the most crucial as you navigate the path toward implementing big data. So the final one, semantic services, that is the uppermost step in the process. And now we're getting into machine learning with that stage, right? So I'm sure we've encountered this on the web. You click on a few things and the next thing you know, you get a tip or a hint for, well, if you like that, you'll probably like this. And that does not require any human interaction. That's completely with machine learning. We're going to apply that in our enterprise architecture environment. Pardon me. So through contextual machine learning, our computers are going to be able to process this big data. It's going to look at the chain before, the chain after, and it is going to determine the analytical capabilities of that data, right? It's also going to flex as needed to handle the volume, velocity, variety, and veracity. So that is the pinnacle of offering exceptional digital customer experiences there. When we can give them real-time, personalized digital insight, we've reached the top step there. So our next slide. This is where we're going to be heading with this, right? The data capabilities, as I mentioned a little bit through semantic services, it's going to converge towards intelligent platforms, right? So this can only take place, as I mentioned, once an organization moves to that innovator status, right? Because we're going to have exponential increases in the data capabilities that we have, it's going to set the perfect foundation for us to manage this big data, analyze it. But here's the interesting thing. In addition to providing analytical insight that drives our customer experience, it's also going to make our jobs a lot easier because those semantic services are going to progress to the point that they're going to be able to self-determine when your data policies need to be adjusted. It's going to move into governance for us. So it'll make adopting big data a lot easier for us through that smart integration, the semantic services there. So some of the things that are going to be characterized by that foundation, as I mentioned, platform intelligence, where it's going to identify data conditions, transformation patterns that require adjustment to existing data policies and analytics. There's going to be no latency data processing and delivering so that you'll see events impacted real time, not near real time, but real time. And again, data governance is going to be embedded across the entire data process and life cycle, and that's going to be due to the machine learning, the semantic services. So our next slide is going to talk a little bit about some of the convergence that's already taken place. So you can see there are a number of companies, they're at the cutting edge of this. The first one, for example, they introduced a deep learning catalog that interprets data, and then the data is used to establish definitions, and it gives suggestions for SQL snippets, right? So it looks at you working on something and, oh, you might want to use this piece of SQL for it. That's already in place. With Luau Labs, they're using unsupervised learning to extract concepts from content, and then they're supporting the ontologies for analytics based on those extractions. Cognitive scale, same thing. They're using artificial intelligence to link customer identities and behaviors to personalize retail experiences. And this is all possible through big data. And you can see there from the others, there are some who are, as I said, they've already embraced big data capabilities, and they seem to be leaps and bounds ahead of us, but the next slide is going to show us why that's not exactly true. So because of the pace at which the data landscape and the capabilities evolved, just because your organization hasn't already adopted big data, it doesn't mean that it's a laggard, right? As you can see from the slide there, the technology that's available will allow your enterprise to springboard into big data. So they're going to be able to leverage new packaged offerings, right? That was that first. first and second stepping stone that we spoke about there. So they're going to partner with leading vendors. The vendors are going to provide them with configurable